Complementary business. Complementary between computers and humans isn't just a macro scale fact, it's also the path of building a great business. I came to understand this from my experience at PayPal. In mid 2000, we had survived the dot com crash and we were growing fast. But we faced one huge problem. We were losing upwards of $10 million to credit card fraud every month. Since we were processing hundreds of even thousands of transactions per minute, we could not possibly review each one. No human quality control team could work that fast. So we did that. We did what any group of engineers will do. We tried to automate a solution. First, Max Levchin assembled an elite team of mathematicians to study the fraudulent transfer in detail. Then we look what we learned and wrote software to automatically identify and cancel bogus transactions in real time. But it quickly became clear that this approach wouldn't work either. After an hour or two, the thieves would catch on and change their tactics. We were dealing with an adaptive enemy, and our software couldn't adapt in response. The fraudsters' adaptive evasions fooled our automatic detection algorithms, but we found that they didn't fool our human analysts is easily. So Max and his engineers rewrote the software to take a hybrid approach. The computer would flag the most suspicious transaction on a well-designed user interface, and human operators would make the final judgment as to their legitimacy. Thanks to the hybrid system, we named it Igor after the Russian fraudster who bragged that we would never be able to stop him. We turned our first quarterly profit in the first quarter of 2002 as opposed to the quarterly loss of 29.3 million one year before. The FA asked us if we had let them use Igor to help detect financial crime, and Max was able to boast graduously but truthfully that he was the Sherlock Holmes of the Internet Underground. This kind of man-machine symbiosis enable people to sustain business, which in turn enable hundreds of thousands of small businesses to accept the payments they needed to thrive on the internet. None of it would have been possible without the man-machine solution, even though most people would never see it or even hear about it. I continue to think about this after we sold PayPal in 2002. If humans and computers together could achieve dramatically better results than either could attain alone, what other valuable business could be built on this core principle? The next year, I pitched Alex Kapp, an old Stanford classmate, and Stephen Cohen, a software engineer, on a new startup idea. We would use the human-computer hybrid approach from PayPal's security system to identify terrorist networks and financial fraud. We already knew the FBI was interested, and in 2004, we founded Palantir, a software company that helps people extract insight from divergent sources of information. The company is on track to book sales of 1 billion in 2014, and Forbes has called Palantir software the killer app for its rumored role in helping the government locate Osama bin Laden. We have no details to share from that operation, but we can say that neither human intelligence by itself nor computers alone will be able to make us safe. America's two biggest spy agencies take opposite approaches. The Central Intelligence Agency is run by spies who privilege humans. The National Security Agency is run by generals who prioritize computers. CIA analysts have to wade through so much noise that it's very difficult to identify the most serious threats. NSA computers can process huge quantities of data, but machines alone cannot authoritatively determine whether someone is plotting a terrorist act. Palantir aims to transcend these opposing biases. Its software analyzes the data the government feeds it. Phone records or radical clerics in Yemen or bank accounts are linked to terror cell activity, for instance, and flags suspicious activities for a trend analyst to review. In addition to helping find terrorists, analysts using Palantir software have been able to predict where insurgent plans IEDs in Afghanistan prosecute high-profile insider trading cases, take down the largest child pornography ring in the world, support the centers of disease control and prevention in fighting food-borne disease outbreaks, and save both commercial banks and the government hundreds of millions of dollars annually through advanced fraud detection. Advanced software made this possible, but even more important were the human analysts, prosecutors, scientists, and financial professionals without whose active engagement the software would have been useless. Think of what professionals do in their jobs today. Lawyers must be able to articulate solutions to thorny problems in several different ways. The pitch changes depending on whether you are talking to a client opposing causal counsel or a judge. Doctors need to marry clinical understanding with an ability to communicate in it to non-expert patients. And good teachers aren't just experts in their disciplines. They must also understand how to tailor their instructions to different individuals interest and learning styles. Computers might be able to do some of these tasks, but they can't combine them effectively. Better technology in law, medicine, and education wouldn't replace professionals. It will allow them to do more. LinkedIn has done exactly this for recruiters. When LinkedIn was founded in 2003, they didn't poll recruiters to find discrete pain points in need of relief, and they didn't try to write software that would replace recruiters outright. Recruiting is part detective work and part sales. You have to scrutinize applicants' history, access, assess their motives and compatibility, and pursue the most promising ones to join you. Effectively replacing all those functions with a computer will be impossible. Instead, LinkedIn set out to transform how recruiters did their jobs. Today, more than 97% of the recruiters use LinkedIn and its powerful source and filtering functionality to source job candidates. And the network also creates value for the hundreds of millions of professionals who use it to manage their personal brands. If LinkedIn had tried to simply replace recruiters with technology, and had tried to simply replace recruiters with technology, they wouldn't have a business today. The ideology of computer science. Why do so many people miss the power of complementarity? It starts in school. Software engineers tend to work on projects that replace human efforts because that's what they are trained to do. Academics make their reputations through specialized research. Their primary goal is to publish papers, and publication means respecting the limits of the particular discipline. For computer scientists, that means reducing human capabilities into specialized tasks that computers can be trained to conquer one by one. Just look at the trendiest fields in computer science today. The very term machine learning evokes imaginary of replacement, and its boosters seem to believe that computers can be taught to perform almost any task so long as we feed them through training data. Any user of Netflix or Amazon has experienced the result of machine learning firsthand. Both companies use algorithm to recommend products based on your viewing and purchases history. Feed them more data, and the recommendations get even better. Google Translate works the same way, providing rough but serviceable translations into any of the 80 languages it supports, not because the software understands human language, but because it has extracted patterns through statistical analysis of a huge corpus of text. The other buzzword that epitomizes a bias towards substitution is big data. Today's companies have an insatiable appetite for data, mistakenly believing that more data always creates more value. But big data is usually dumb data. Computers can find patterns that elude humans, but they don't know how to compare patterns from different sources or how to interpret complex behaviors. Actionable insights can only come from a human analyst, or the kind of generalized artificial intelligence that exists only in science fiction. We have let ourselves become enchanted by big data only because we exoticize technology. We are impressed with small feeds